All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the very second episode of the Chill Pill podcast. I have the pleasure of interviewing today Mr. Etienne Charles, the trumpeter, well known for fusing jazz and music of the Caribbean. How are you doing, Etienne?
Hey, Brandon, it's good to see you. It's good to be seen. Hope you're doing well as well. Hope you're staying safe.
Thank you, man. Good to see you too. How's everything going with you with this current lockdown? We've been in week 5.
Yeah, I mean, it's been good. I've been in lockdown since the 12th of March. And so, yeah, it's interesting. It's a different life. Like many other musicians. I lost a lot of work, but I'm grateful because it's given me a chance to kind of refocus the lens a little bit. Work on different things, work on compositions, work on charts, do a lot more listening to recordings, get more sleep.
Yep.
Which I've definitely been doing, and cooking and exercising. Yeah, so that's what I've been doing so far, and a lot of Zoom conferences. I'm still working at Michigan State University. I'm on sabbatical right now, so just processing a lot of the research that I've been doing, and getting ready to release a couple of albums later this year. And I started a channel. It's something that I've been working on for a while. Getting a lot of video footage from different gigs, like high definition footage. And so the first episode is up now on my site. It's called Creole Soul TV.
All right, that's right. Etienne is here to promote Creole Soul TV. We're going to get to that in just a minute. Where are you located right now, Etienne?
I'm in Okemos, Michigan.
Oh, wow, in Michigan. So there's been some protests about the lockdown over in Michigan. What have you been seeing over there, just from your site, and also the media is portraying how New York City looks? Just tell me some of your observations so far.
Well, funny enough, what the media portrays and what a lot of times what you see can sometimes be completely different in a sense. As in, like if you look at the news, you would think that in Michigan, it's either the hospitals in Detroit with the heavy coronavirus cases, which is happening, or the protesters in the middle of the state. When most people I know are practicing social distancing in a very strict way. It's a very small number of people who are protesting against the lockdown, or protesting the lockdown. I wouldn't say that it's a large number of people. I would say it's a very small number, but since it's good news in a sense, not good news as in it's good news, but it's good for the news station to show something like that to catch people's eyes. They're making it out to look a certain way. And then, from what New York is being portrayed, of course, I'm naturally scared because I have so many family and friends in New York. I mean, I'm technically still a New Yorker at heart from the sense of being a jazz musician on the scene and whatnot. And so to see what I see in the news, about how, the cases that are going on in New York, but then also talking to my friends, people in the Bronx who tell me is like people are still going outside and doing what they have to do simply from reality. It's a lot to process at the same time. So, trusting just one source is not the case, like just relying on media, whichever side, is not the way to do it. For me, picking up the phone and talking to people is also a very important way to figure out what's going on and how we should navigate this to come out of it stronger physically, mentally, spiritually, socially, intellectually. For me, those are the important things.
Right. You mentioned mentally. Has this had any effect on you, and just anything you could offer to musicians who are dealing with something like this, that they've, you're a man of the people, playing amongst the people in carnival and stuff like that. Just curious to know your thoughts on just how it affects you mentally, and also social distancing. How's that going to affect your brand of music?
Yeah, well, like you said, I'm all about the people. Like my carnival band was called "We the People." It's mentally, it's been for me. I've been fine. I think the onslaught of the numerous cancellations, one after the other, I wouldn't say it was depressing, but it was just something that I had never experienced And so I just have to process it a little bit. But for me, as long as I'm healthy and my immediates, my family is healthy, I'm cool, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful to have a space to live and still be able to have a studio at home, so I'm still able to make music. I'm still able to write. I have a record player. I'm just able to sit down and chill out. I have books to sit down and read, food to learn how to cook. And so, from a mental standpoint, for me, it's just about keeping the brain occupied, figuring out what I want to learn. So like the first couple weeks, I spent a lot of time digging back into Kenny Kirkland's music, doing some transcriptions, doing a couple big band arrangements of those charts, just to kind of get my feet back into that sound. And now I'm conceptualizing another project, and I have a couple commissions I'm catching up on. So just I'm lucky enough to be keeping busy with writing, which I've done before. So it's not really too crazy, just that I don't really get to go play the music. Jazz is a social art form. It's a music that people come together to hear. People come together to play. And so having to figure out ways to do these virtual videos and figuring out new ways to engage the audience. It's been somewhat of a challenge, but I love challenges. And, we luckily have a beacon and a guide in our community, especially the New York jazz community. If you look at what Jazz and the Consent has been doing, it's been really phenomenal in terms of their ability to keep engaging the community, not just the fans, but the musicians as well. Things like Skin's Domain on Monday nights. I was just watching an Instagram live that Jazz and the Consent did with Winton. It was basically a Q&A, just to keep people occupied, because you never know what type of questions people have. And so I must commend them and salute them for that. Their gala was really incredible to watch them get musicians from all over the world together to put together this concert. So it's inspiring. I have my bass here at home. I have my conga drums, my steel pan, my quattro, my trumpet, my flugelhorn, a djembe, a doumbek. So I have lots of instruments to keep me busy.
Right. So with that in mind, you've been somewhat on the forefront in terms of including media to tell the story of the history of Carnival and jazz music as well. So let's talk about your project, Creole Soul TV. Just tell me, what was the impetus for that? And is it a result of this current lockdown, or is this something you had in mind?
It's something I kind of had in mind for a while. As you know, we worked together for years ago, from I think from 2011, 2012, we started working together. I've always seen the importance of properly documenting your performances and properly documenting your work. And so, I see, as expensive as it can be, it's also valuable simply because you have a tangible account of what the work was. And so I'd always been doing that. And then I decided, let me figure out a way to get this channel together so I could get people coming to my site to watch shows. Because as a composer and a band leader who does many different types of projects, right? I have a group that's a quartet, I have a big band, and then in between I have Creole Soul, which is a sextet, and then I do these expanded shows, which is with Creole Soul, and then with a couple of percussionists, maybe from Trinidad and Tobago, and then with dancers, costume, and whatnot. And so I realized that certain shows that I did would not really be seen in other countries. Like if I were to do my big band show at the Jazz Standard, a lot of my people in Trinidad mightn't ever get to see that because they don't live in New York. And so I was like, well, what about if I put it on my site, they could come on and watch, see what it's like. And we kind of set it up so we put them in the club. So if you check out the first episode, like you're right by the stage, you have a couple different views, but everything is close and intimate. So it's like you're there. Same thing with the next episode, which is probably going to be my folklore concert, which is a large production with costume dancers that I developed from my album Folklore. It's always the dream for me to be able to perform the music with the costume dancers so people could see the movements and images that I had in my head when I was writing the music. So now we're going to be able to put that up, and people who weren't at that show in Trinidad, who live, whether it's in the US or in Europe or Asia, wherever we play, Africa, they will get to be able to immediately see what we do. So it's a way to connect. you know, even we're in a lockdown and we're so separate because of distancing, through media and through the internet, we can connect in new ways. And so the channel is luckily enough already doing that. The feedback on the first episode, I'm really grateful, has been pretty solid. And especially for my people, my family in Trinidad, who, you know, have never seen me in the big band realm, which is something that I've been very, very engrossed in since I moved to the US. So that's the impetus for it, and it's going well so far.
That's amazing. Is it free to sign up?
It's free to sign up, etiennecharles.com/TV. All you need is an email address. You punch in the email address and you can go right to watch the first episode.
Right. And how many hours of footage would you say, like what else can people expect from Creole Soul TV?
You're gonna expect, well, the priority right now are concerts, just to keep people kind of, you know, everybody's at home, everybody's on their couch looking for things to do, and so we've been gathering concerts. But there's also eventually going to be educational footage, educational assets, specifically with respect to trumpet and with respect to composition and arranging, and then probably eventually, once social distancing kind of subsides and once we're back to, I wouldn't say we're back to normal because this is the new normal, but once we have an ability to take a little more liberties with how we interact in personal situations, I think we're going to end up with some interviews as well.
Okay, awesome. So look out for Creole Soul TV on etiennecharles.com, and we're going to take a very short break. We'll be right back. Do not go anywhere. You guys are watching The Chill Pill, and my name is Brandon Bain. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back at the Chill Pill, and we are here with multi-instrumentalist, mostly known for his trumpet playing, Mr. Etienne Charles. Let's give it up. Come on, Etienne Charles in the house.
Everybody.
All right, Etienne, I just want to know, you talked about your Creole Soul TV project that's on etiennecharles.com. How can people find you on social media and stuff like that?
On social media, I'm Etienne Jazz, Etienne Jazz, and that's for Facebook, that's for Twitter, that's for Instagram, that's also for TikTok. For the TikTokers.
TikTok, how's that?
I mean, you know, it's the new thing. It's really interesting because a lot of people do the same video, but with themselves. But it's hip, you know. It's a new thing. It's a new medium for communication and for expression. So I'm enjoying trying to navigate it. But yeah, that's my social media handle, Etienne Jazz.
All right, and you mentioned that you lost a lot of shows. I just want to know how many gigs would you say were canceled? Would you estimate, just roughly? And also, I saw you had a very big show coming up at Jazz at Lincoln Center. Has anything been mentioned about what's going to happen with that particular show?
So far, my March, April, and May basically have been canceled. June, I haven't heard yet, so I'm still hoping that June might be on, specifically at the Appel Room. But so far, yeah, I was supposed to do an SF Jazz Collective tour starting on the 14th of March, and we were supposed to go all the way until the 6th of April. And then I was supposed to continue on fronting, doing a few guest solo spots with different big bands, university and otherwise, through the rest of April. So those all got canceled as well. But I've been grateful to just be home and just get to relax, which I think, you know, as humans, we can tend to be really busy all the time. And so to be able to sit and breathe and exhale and ask questions that we wouldn't be asking before, it's a blessing. Even, you know, you could think about it however you want. For me, I see all of this as just a way to recalibrate and a way it's like a step back. And for me, progress is one step backward, two steps forward. So this is the step backward right now, and then figuring out how to go back forward.
All right. Well said. And you know what? While we're on the subject of the lockdown, the last question, I just want to know, we lost a lot of soldiers in the music and jazz community. Was there anybody you knew in particular that you'd like to mention and talk about?
Well, I mean, every one of the musicians that we've lost so far has had an impact on me. I think the one with the biggest impact for me would have to be Ellis Marsalis, simply because I am a product of his teachings from the standpoint of, like, most of my mentors were mentored by him. Like, from go down the list, from Wynton, Marcus Roberts, Leon Anderson, Scotty Barnhart, when I was at Juilliard, Victor Goines, they all came out of the school of Ellis Marsalis. Whether it was playing in his quartet or quintet, or being in school under him, whether it was in VCU or at UNO. And so it's kind of like I'm second generation of that teaching. And I was lucky enough to meet Mr. Marsalis and play with him at Snug Harbor, whenever we would go to New Orleans for our little pilgrimages when I was at Florida State University. And he was always really gracious. He was always really mellow. I remember having a simple conversation with him. Thinking back to it, I was probably bothering him while he was on his set break eating his food. But, we were all starstruck at the time, and, just knowing that he was such a legendary player and teacher. I mean, if you look at the list of musicians that he mentored, people like, Terrence Blanchard, Terrence, Peter Martin, Clarence Penn. It's like a whole list of great musicians that came up on this. And of course, his sons in the Marsalis family, and so many other musicians. So for me, that was a really heavy blow. Also, Wallace Roney, the Roney family has been a great musical family for many years. And I played many a gig with his brother Antoine in the Miles Electric Band. And I know Wallace's son, Wallace Jr. I taught him at jazz camps, and so it's a big hit. We just lost Henry Grimes, and so many are getting the call now. It's a lot to see at once, and it's something that we need to pay attention to and understand that we really need to honor people when they are alive. Right. And so it's something that we need to make sure moving forward that we make sure and pay attention to understanding what people's contributions are. Because, the media a lot of times likes to focus on the youth, which is important, but also, the icons really need to be celebrated and studied. And so that's what I'm learning from this, is to make sure, well, it's not something new that I'm learning, just something that I'm reminded of, that we need to make sure and celebrate the icons.
Absolutely. And switching gears, just want to know, you've been playing music for most of your life. Just tell us a little bit about how you got started in the game.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm from a musical family on both sides, in the sense that on my mother's side, both of her grandfathers were musicians. So her father's father played the quattro, and her mother's father played many instruments. He was a multi-instrumentalist. His name was Clément Mondery. And so that's on my mom's side. And also my mom's side, her brother played the saxophone and trumpet. He's the one that gave me a trumpet. And then on my father's side, my dad played the steel pan. He was a DJ. Many of my uncles played quattro or guitar. Uncle Key played a little flute. He plays quattro. Uncle Wayne was a great choral director, church choirs, and choral arranger, choral composer. He used to write beautiful songs when he was a teenager. And so there was a lot of music on both sides. A lot of it was looped up into the church and also into family gatherings. And so that's really how I got started. And then when I was in school, I was in the choir. The choir director was a gentleman by the name of Mr. White. And he was the piano player, and the conductor was Mrs. Jagbeer. And then I started playing the recorder. Everybody plays recorder in school. In the school I went to, Bishop Anson School, everybody plays recorder starting at age 6 or 7. So I started playing recorder, and then my uncle heard me play the recorder and said he was going to send me a saxophone. And but instead of sending a saxophone, he sent a trumpet. And so that's how I started playing trumpet. And, you know, from there I got braces. I stopped, started playing percussion and drums. And then from there I started by playing trumpet at age 16. Went to a couple of summer music camps at Berklee College of Music. And then really was solidified in my mind that I wanted to be a musician. And that was that. And then Florida State University for undergrad. And luckily enough, was able to be mentored by people like Leon Anderson, Rodney Jordan, Marcus Roberts, Scotty Barnhart. And then from there, I went to Juilliard in New York. And then from there, after a year of freelancing in New York, I moved to Michigan and started teaching at Michigan State University.
Well, I guess one of the things I like you to do is obviously, you know, created your own brand and tastefully mixed jazz music with music of the Caribbean. Can you tell us a little bit about your style and how that all got started?
Well, that's a great question, talking point. For me, you know, it was years ago. I was at Florida State. You know, I was really interested in this music, this Black music, and I was studying with Marcus Roberts, who's, you know, heavily influenced by everybody from Bessie Smith, Ma Rainey, to McCoy Tyner and beyond. And I was also playing in this band called Latin Attitude, which was a quote unquote Latin jazz group that was led by Papo Carrasco, who was a great piano player on many Fania Salsa records. He was a musical director for Tony Croato. He was the one that started me playing congas in the Afro Latin style, I guess you would call it, or the Afro-Cuban, Afro-Puerto Rican style. So I was dealing with that. And then, of course, I had a quattro at school. So after all I was done, I would sit down at home and just pluck out a couple of calypsos on the quattro. I always used to pluck on the quattro at night, just playing a couple of calypsos or whatever. And so I was learning a lot of Kitchener tunes, a lot of Roaring Lion tunes at the time. And so then I was getting ready for this recording session, and Marcus Roberts was going to be on the record, Leon Anderson, Rodney Jordan, Vincent Gardner was playing trombone on it, and I knew I wanted to have a calypso on it, so I wrote this calypso old school. And when I was teaching them the calypso feel, because the one thing I had, even at a young age, I had already been fed up of, was hearing jazz musicians like half-ass calypso, you know, because it's like, oh, let's play St. Thomas, boom, 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 but you know, they're not dealing with the energy,
right? They're
not dealing with the syncopation. Like, it is a language. Without lyric, there's a feel that's calypso. And so I was showing them that. I was like, so I picked up the quattro and I was strumming. We just played on like a 4-chord vamp, like a four walk-up vamp. And I was strumming on the quattro. I actually have the rehearsal recorded. And there was a point when it flipped and they started really feeling it. Like I remember the exact Marcus started really phrasing in that way, because I was like singing ideas to them. And just from the understanding of the lilt, of the syncopation, of the type of phrase that's built up, it's kind of like clave, slightly different. And at the end of that rehearsal, right after that section, Marcus was like, you see this? That's you. That's what you need to be doing. That's your sound, you know, because, and I was like, okay. You know, it's so from then I was really clearly always driven to make sure and remind people that, you know, because people say that I fuse jazz and Caribbean music together, but it's one thing.
Right.
The same way, you know, I am born and raised in Trinidad with heavy roots in Grenada, heavy roots in Martinique, you know, heavy roots in Montserrat, heavy roots in Haiti. You know, at the same way my cousins, born and raised in Long Island, Nassau County. We have the same blood, but we speak with a slightly different accent. So
right.
We really the same.
You were born in Trinidad?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Trinidad. I grew up there. I left Trinidad when I was 19. to go to Florida State University. And so like we all, so at the end of the day, it's for me, it's more of a connection to the diaspora with a particular dialect that's heavily improvised and heavily nuanced with certain things like the blues, etc. And so what I do is that I'm just bringing it with a slightly different feel because of my influences. But those influences were at the beginning of the music.
Right.
When you talk about Jelly Roll Morton, talking about the Spanish tinge, when you talk about, Kenny Clark and, all these Caribbean immigrants that were at the forefront of changing the music, that continuously happened with, whether from bebop to hip hop, you see these influxes of migrants and first generation Americans changing the music. And so for me, the dialogue has really become about what story do I want to tell. And for me, the story I want to tell is a story that really connects the diaspora.
All right, that's interesting that you mentioned that, it being one and the same. So I guess people probably don't realize how much of an influence Caribbean or Calypso music is, I guess, a part of just music in general. But where would you say somebody who's not aware of that style of music, where should they start if they want to get like a good, like rough course on it?
A good rough course on Caribbean music,
Yeah,
or
Calypso, just anything you think like just a good place to start.
I would say a great starting point. I mean, the thing about Calypso is Calypso was really like a triangular thing, in the sense that it was really born and raised in Trinidad, but once the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s came about, the music kind of moved in a triangle. It had, because the record labels the New York record labels, the American record labels took a huge interest in Calypso. So there was presence in New York, and then there was a big presence in London after 1948, which was when the first Windrush voyage happened, where many West Indians went. The first voyage was from Jamaica to London in June of 1948. So there became these different brands. So like you have the London sound, you have the New York sound, you have the Trinidad sound. So I would say a great place to start there's some great compilations: Mighty Sparrow, Volume 1 through 4, Classic Kitsch, Volume 1 through 4. I would say, there's a great album called London is the Place for Me. They have Volume 1, 2, 3, 4. It's such a deep ocean, and that's just Calypso. We're not even talking about other Caribbean styles. Like, we're not even talking about other Trini styles. Like, we're not even talking about Lionel Belasco yet. We're not talking about Hazel Scott yet. We're not talking about Winifred Atwell yet. We ain't even touched steel bands yet. So there's all these different styles to dig into. But for me, I always like to get people's feet wet with the sound of the Calypso and move them on from there.
Right. I just wanted to ask you also, you can answer this any way you want. I wanted to know just some of your favorite artists in the terms of like your Mount Rushmore of either jazz and Caribbean artists, or just Caribbean artists, however you want to do it. Just list about 4 artists that you think really had an influence on you as a Mount Rushmore.
On me, I'll separate them because there's so many, and I want to have the chance to do a couple of them. So I would say for the Caribbean, I would say Bob Marley, Lionel Belasco, Lord Kitchener,
right,
and I would have to say, another Mount Rushmore would have to be like probably an instrumentalist, somebody like, I would say somebody like Anthony Williams, who was a great steel pan arranger. He was one of the legendary pioneers of arranging for steel pan. His name, they call him, he's still alive. They call him Anthony Williams. Okay. He was the leader of Pan Am North Stars. And then for jazz, if I had to choose 4 people to, that are really important for me as musicians, I would definitely say Louis Armstrong. I would say, it's hard because I'm immediately thinking of 4 trumpet players, but I don't want to limit it to just trumpet. So I would say Louis Armstrong. I would say Duke Ellington. I would say John Coltrane.
Okay.
And I would say Miles Davis for jazz, specifically like this improvisatory style of music that people call jazz. Like, other styles. You know, you could get into Stevie Wonder, Prince, all that, Quincy Jones, etc., etc. Because there's so many names. But yeah.
Absolutely. All right, so that was a pretty impressive list, and you have a lot of people to study out there. Those of you listening to what Etienne is, and we'll be right back. We're going to take a very short break. You guys are watching The Chill Pill.
I'm Jean Kaz. My name is Etienne Charles. We're going to play a tune from the great musical Guys and Dolls. This one is called If I Were Belle.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Chill Pill. Hope you guys enjoyed that last video. We are here with our brother Etienne Charles, joining us all the way from Michigan. And Etienne, I just want to know, like I said, we're in the 5th week of lockdown. I just want to ask you, where do you think this is headed for musicians in particular? You're somebody who's been on top of things in terms of video and running your own business and running a big band and stuff like that. What advice do you have to musicians in terms of how to deal with this adaptation of what you call the new normal?
I would say understand that it's not the first time something like this has happened. Like cause we're so separated now from the Great Depression that happened in the late 20s, right?
Right.
So separate. I think it was, I don't know, 1929, something like that. But at that time, many great musicians stopped playing and got jobs in factories, etc. And there was a very famous bass player by the name of Steve Brown, who was he was a very famous bass player from Chicago. And he basically disappeared and got a job. And I'm saying my advice to musicians would be, one, understand that this might be temporary and it might not. So start figuring out what you can do with your skills to continue to be able to support yourself. You know, it's like for me, I bought a recording rig 11 years ago that plugs into my computer, and it works like a charm. And so I've been able to, I have my microphone right here, one of them, and I have a couple different microphones, so I'm able to still do studio quality recording at home. So that's the first step. I would say, just be able to get your ideas out, and also work on your reading and writing skills. Understand that you might end up teaching from home instead of being able to go and do lessons or have people come to do lessons. So making sure that you're able to communicate ideas through a screen, which is a little bit different. So I would say, think about as many different ways that you could engage people, because like we are in a business of engaging people. Like, we provide a service. We provide, we're kind of like doctors in a sense, where music is a way to take people's minds off of stress. Music actually has therapeutic value in our society. And so understand that you want to make sure that you are able to continue doing what you do, even though we might be in this quote unquote new medium. I've been lucky. I've spent, a lot of time dedicated to documenting stuff and getting really good videos done. I would say that's always a good tool moving forward, is having good video content, because people are always looking for stuff to watch. Video content is great for educating people, and that's how our music will continue into the next generation. We are jazz generation, so we came up listening to records, but we also looking at pictures of people in the liner notes. And now with the YouTube generation, we watching videos from those old gigs. Well, the question is, what if they didn't video record those gigs?
Right.
What would we be watching? Like how would we, what would we be watching? What would we be showing our students? What would be showing young musicians who ask us what to check out? So it's the same thing about composing original music. What if George Gershwin, Thelonious Monk, Duke Ellington, Cannonball Adderley, Charlie Parker, Dizzy Gillespie, what if they only played tunes from way before them and never wrote any new music? Would we have people like Wayne Shorter's tunes at this time? Like, if you look at the canon of Wayne Shorter's music or the canon of Thelonious Monk's music, like, if they hadn't written original music, would we have that? So I would say, make sure you're continuing to write new music. Make sure you continue to develop as an artist as well. Just continue to grow. That's the goal. Continue to grow.
All right, man. You also recently took part in the Don't Rush Challenge. Tell me a little bit about that.
So yeah, that Don't Rush Challenge was the brainchild of the one and only Christian Sands. He hit me up, was like, "Yo, man, we need to do one of these." He sent me the video. I was like, "Hey, you just let me know what to do and I'm doing it." He's like, "Okay, let's do this, do that, blah, blah, blah." So I put on my little tux, and that was that. It was fun, I mean, jazz is about expression, whether it's through your horn, through the tunes you write, through the way you communicate, the way you speak, the way we socialize, and also the way we dress. Our Blakey said they see you before they hear you. And I know you're a dresser as well. You know, I've seen all of your kits here already. You know, and for us, it's double because we're also heavily influenced by the calypso tradition, which is also a heavy dressing tradition.
Right.
So for us, it's double. Like, you know, for every jazz icon I think of with fashion, I also think of a calypso icon with their fashion. So it's like,
who is the
so
most calypsonian that you can think of?
The most stylish?
Somebody that just stands out right away.
Right away, I would have to say Roaring Lion.
All right.
You know, like old school Rick. I would have to say, you know, Mighty Duke. Was really sharp as well. Sparrow was always in a tux.
Yeah.
You know, he had the whole dinner jacket, looked double-breasted dinner jacket. There's that iconic photo of him standing with his guitar, his hands on the guitar, and he's got this double-breasted shawl collar dinner jacket with a bow tie. Yeah, I mean, there's so many. I mean, Calypso Rose is always sharp.
Right. I understand you have your own fashion line as well, or you're starting one. Is that correct? Or
I've done a capsule for Benny Carib, which is a clothing line in Trinidad that was started by my sister. So I did a men's capsule for them with shirts, hats, shorts, and then I also I was toying with the idea of doing a bespoke suit line, where I would, you know, be the guy that guides people to choosing fabrics and whatnot. But it became too much to handle. So I just design my own clothes now, and that's enough work as it is.
All right. So a few years ago, you were, I guess, kind enough to join us as part of the Capsulocity family. You did a couple of videos partnering up with Jean Caz, a Haitian American trumpeter based in Miami, I believe. And just wanted to thank you for being a part of that. Have you heard any feedback from those couple of videos?
Oh yeah, those Capsulocity videos are huge hits among, you know, specifically among students. You know, a lot of high school and collegiate students always hit me up about, they say that they watched the If I Were Belle duet that I did with Jean. I can't remember, that may have been 2012 or 11 or 13 or something like that. It was a while ago. But yeah, it was because it's hard. You hardly ever see duos, you know, you hardly ever see duets. So it was an interesting format, and I had a lot of fun. I mean, Jean's one of my favorite trumpet players. I've known him since 2003. So you know, we go way back, and so it's just fun to get to sit down and vibe with him and play some music. And I hope you bring that back at some point.
Yeah, we're working on it. You know, I guess once we get out of this, we will see how it expands. But as of now, we have the Chill Pill, and I just want to thank you so much, honestly, for being a part of that video series and doing this podcast today. Is there anything else you want to tell the audience before we take another short break?
Be safe and be good to one another. Think more about us as a whole as opposed to the I factor. Think about it as us and we.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, once again, check out Creole Soul TV. There's a lot of great content and high quality video on there. It's on EtienneCharles.com or .tv?
EtienneCharles.com/TV. Yeah.
All right, and I think you just need to sign up with your email and you'll be entertained for a few hours, whining in a chair, hopefully. And so we're going to take a very short break. You guys are watching the Chill Pill. Etienne, when we come back, will you play something for us?
Sure.
All right, cool. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
You know, it was once said that there is no art without intention. And I remember coming up in a time where our role models were political activists. They were social activists as well. We're definitely witnessing a movement. The least we can do is to use our art to help and heal. We can use our art to shed light on social injustice. We can use our platform to make a difference. Now we're living in a time where we need to be courageous. And I think that this time more than ever, it is important for each and every one of us to think about what it is that we can do to say something, to do something, because a lot of us are not breathing. And it's time. It's time to do something about it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back on the Chill Pill. My name is Brandon Bain, and it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you Mr. Etienne Charles. Enjoy. All right, brother. Thank you guys so much once again for watching the Chill Pill. Let's give it up for Etienne Charles once again. Thank you for joining us. EtienneCharles.com/TV. Check it out. And check out Capsulocity.com. Discover new music through Capsulocity. Take care.
All right. Thank you, man.